In 1985, a beloved schoolteacher vanished without a trace during a snowstorm in Minnesota. For over 2 decades, the town mourned and speculated until a broken pipe in a retired judge's home uncovered a secret basement. And inside, someone whispered, "I knew you'd find me." The morning of January 9th, 1985 started like any other in the quiet town of Wilmer Ridge. The air was thick with the scent of coffee, the school bells rang on time, and Mrs. Eloise Gardner, a gentle widow in her 60s, was seen crossing the icy path toward Elmwood Elementary School. She wore her usual beige overcoat scarf, wrapped tightly clutching a tote filled with handwritten lesson plans. Students adored her. She was Granny Gardner, the woman who taught 3 generations to read. But that afternoon, just after the final bell, the snow began falling harder. An unexpected blizzard swept through central Minnesota. Visibility dropped to near zero. Parents arrived in frantic waves collecting children early. One teacher stayed behind. When the janitor made his final rounds around 7 p.m., Mrs. Gardner's car was still in the parking lot. But she was nowhere to be found. The police were notified. A search party was formed. Her footprints led partway down a wooded path behind the school and vanished. Some believed she got disoriented and wandered into the forest. Others said she might have suffered a medical emergency. But the strangest part, the snow around the last known footprints showed no signs of struggle, no blood, no signs of someone falling, just nothing. As the days passed, the blizzard melted. So did hope. For years, her name was spoken in hushed tones. Mrs. Gardner. God rest her soul, some would whisper at the local diner. Others, more cynical, believed she had left town, maybe overwhelmed by the grief of losing her only son in a car accident just 2 months prior. But most held on to a simple belief she must have died that night. Frozen. Gone. The forest was searched again that spring and again 2 years later when hunters stumbled upon a decayed scarf, which turned out to belong to someone else entirely. The school district named the reading room in her honor. A plaque with her smiling face was mounted above the fireplace. Students left flowers every January. Yet in the sheriff's office, a faded manila folder remained on the back shelf. Eloise Gardner, missing. Then came the winter of 2007. Judge Harold Branson, a retired county court magistrate, lived alone in his ancestral estate, a massive Victorian home just outside town. That January, an early thaw caused a pipe to burst beneath the west wing. Water soaked the floorboards and a handyman was called in. While investigating the basement, the worker found a narrow, sealed door hidden behind a cabinet bolted to the concrete wall. The cabinet had never been moved, even during renovations. The worker, thinking it might be an old coal chute, pried it open. Behind it was a second basement, and from inside came the sound of humming. Police were called immediately. The door was rusted shut, but gave way under the fire department's tools. What they found would shake Wilmer Ridge to its core. A narrow staircase descended into a stone corridor. At the bottom was a room no larger than a garden shed. Inside, beneath a threadbare blanket, was a frail woman with sunken cheeks, hollow eyes, and a soft, familiar voice. "I knew you'd find me," she said. It was Eloise Gardner, alive. Rushed to Wilmer Ridge General Hospital, doctors were stunned, despite her emaciated frame and severe vitamin deficiency. Eloise Gardner was lucid. She was 84 years old now, but her mind had survived what her body had endured. She recited Bible verses. She asked about former students by name. "Is little Sammy Turley a doctor yet? He always liked bones." But it was what she told detectives that made national news. She had been held captive, drugged at first, then locked away. By someone she knew. Judge Harold Branson was not just a retired magistrate. He had been one of Mrs. Gardner's former students her last class before retirement. As a boy, he'd been quiet, withdrawn. Teachers had said he was bookish odd, but harmless. He wasn't. According to Eloise, he began visiting her after her son's funeral, offering company, tea, kindness. Then came the visit during the snowstorm. She remembers accepting his ride. She never saw the outside world again. When officers raided Branson's home, they found more than just the hidden basement. Behind the second panel in his study was a miniature courtroom handcrafted. There were tiny pews, a judge's bench, and files, thousands of them. Each contained clippings about missing women. but only one had photographs, Eloise. News spread fast. Reporters descended. Candlelight vigils turned into angry protests outside Branson's home. How could we not know? One woman sobbed on local TV. She lived a mile from my house, and we prayed for her every Sunday. Eloise remained calm. Forgive him, she told the chaplain at the hospital. He was lost long before I was. Though frail, Eloise testified in court via video. Her words silenced the room. I taught him to read. I taught him to be kind. I don't know what made him into a monster, but I knew if I lost faith, he would win, so I chose not to. The judge sentenced Harold Branson to life in prison without parole. He died in his cell 7 months later from a stroke. Eloise never returned to her old house. She moved into a care home near her niece in Oregon, but kept in touch with former students through handwritten letters. Every year she sent one to Elmwood Elementary addressed to the new first graders. Be curious, be kind, and never stop believing that someone is waiting to find you. In 2010, a bronze statue was erected in front of the school. Beneath it, a plaque reads, "Her light never went out." Weeks passed. As her body regained strength, Eloise's memories also sharpened, some painful, some poetic. She remembered the seasons by smell, damp mildew in spring, burning dust in summer, when old pipes clanked to life, the musty chill of winter through stone walls. She counted time, not in hours or days, but by the number of birds she could hear overhead, the sound of rain echoing through the ceiling, or the vibrations of Branson's footsteps above. One day she told the therapist, I taught myself not to cry after the first 5 years. Not because I wasn't sad, but because it wasted precious water. What she missed most, books, the smell of chalk, and little voices saying, "Good morning, Mrs. Gardner." During cleanup of the judge's estate, authorities uncovered a locked drawer beneath a floorboard in his private library. Inside, a reel-to-reel tape recorder labeled in red ink "Confession." On it, Branson described how his obsession began after his own mother's death. Eloise had once praised him just once for correctly reading a passage aloud. It felt like God had spoken through her, he said on tape. I needed her approval. I needed her near. Forever. He described building the second basement himself, slowly, methodically, over 3 years. No one would look under the old house, he muttered. Not for her, not for a retired nobody. He believed he was keeping her safe from the world. His delusion was absolute. The tape ended with a single whisper. She still teaches me. Even now. When the town reopened Elmwood Elementary's West Wing after renovations, they did more than clean the old halls. They rebuilt a classroom exactly as Eloise had left it in 1985. Desks, chalkboard, her hand-lettered posters of phonics rules, all restored. And once a year, on the date she was found, they invite her back. She cannot walk long, and her voice is no longer strong, but when she enters, the students rise, every single one. Good morning, Mrs. Gardner. She smiles and replies just as she always did. Good morning, my stars. Today is a good day to learn something new. It wasn't just her former students who reached out. Letters arrived from strangers around the world. One from a teenage girl in Ohio read, I'm being hurt, but your story gave me hope. If you survived, maybe I can too. Another said, I always thought my grandma forgot about us, but maybe she was just trying to survive like you. Eloise made it her mission to answer every letter personally. Even if they feel forgotten, she told the nurse one evening a child should always hear back from their teacher. On the second anniversary of her discovery, something remarkable happened. The town council restored the old school bell, the same one that had rung each morning for decades until it cracked in 1990 and was removed. At dawn, with townspeople gathered in silence, Eloise Gardner, now 86, was wheeled to the front of the crowd. They handed her the rope, and for the first time in 24 years the bell tolled, one chime for each missing year. A pause, then one final ring for her return. As the sound echoed through Wilmer Ridge, no one spoke. Some cried, some bowed their heads, but all knew what it meant. She was home. If this story moved, you don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real-life miracles and stories of resilience. And remember, sometimes faith really can survive in the darkest places.